Standalone 2-6 was last week, and while we don't have any new champions, we certainly have new challengers as Summer Sun Princess's card is starting to take shape. We'll chat through that loaded Corcoran Hall event, check in on a few matches across EVE, MLW, and DDT, get hype with Hyper Misao's big announcement, and preview our first show on the road to Summer Sun Princess. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host, Andy Zyke, and the World Cup has started. I don't know if any of you out there listening are big World Cup fans. I'll admit I am not a huge soccer, international football fan myself, but I do get excited for the World Cup. I think it's just a fun thing to, like as a sports person, I think it's just a fun thing to somewhat follow along and see who people are rooting for. I probably just will root for the USA just because that's where I live and they're in it. But I don't know much more beyond that. But I heard a lot about it today as it all kicked off, so thought it made sense to mention here as our topical bit in our introduction. There's a lot going on in TJPW's world, though. Standalone took place last weekend. Pretty good show. We're going to dive into Standalone today. We also have some updates around our next big Corcoran Hall show, Summer Sun Princess. We'll talk a little bit about how that match card is shaping up. That kind of ties into what happened at Standalone. So we'll chat all about that. In addition to that, we have quite a big excursion corner this week. There was a number of matches that took place abroad and overseas from TJPW. I guess I should just say outside of TJPW because there was one in Japan as well. But we're going to peek into EVE. Miyu Yamashita was over in the UK. Shoko Nakajima was kind of in America with MLW. We'll talk about that. And then we also have a DDT match, which featured a few of the younger generation members of TJPW. On top of that, we have to chat about Hype 4. Very, very excited that was announced. So we're going to cover that on today's show. We have a couple of other bits and bobs we'll bounce around to. We have a show to preview as well as we are fully on our way on that road to Summer Sun Princess now. In terms of just some housekeeping things real quick, we'll get these out of the way. I have been mentioning this for the past few weeks, but there is going to be a couple of bonus episodes this month. The first one will be a rewind episode about the first ever Hype show. So in the spirit of Hype 4 getting announced, we're going to go back and watch the original Hype show from 2023. It won't be watch-along style, but what I will do is I will watch it and then present it and talk about it, kind of the way we do all of the big shows or all of the shows that take place for TJPW. Really excited. I think that's such a special show. It's a really good show. If you want to go ahead and watch it as preparation for the conversation that we'll have, or if you'd rather do vice versa, if you'd rather listen to me kind of explain it as it goes along and you can follow along with some of the dialogue and what's going on, but really excited to dive into that. On top of that, I want to do more of a traditional watch along of the behind the scenes documentary from Grand Princess 2-6. So I think I'm going to do the Hype one first, and that will probably come out maybe as soon as next week, and then the behind the scenes watch along either the following week or the final week of June. I'm haven't totally decided just yet. I also have a lot of stuff planned for social media. I got a request to do another roster guide for Miyu Yamashita, so I'm looking forward to putting that together. And then I did order, I think I said this last week, I did order a box of the BBM trading cards. I was able to get my hands on one of those. And I think I said last week that I wouldn't get bit by the bug, but I kind of got bit by the bug and I ended up purchasing an additional box. So I do have quite a lot of BBM trading cards now. But I'm really excited because I managed to get basically all of the TJPW women that are included in the set. I was able to get a full set of the TJPW women. So that was really exciting for me. I think I will do a social post around that as well, showing off the cards that I got, some of the special like autographed cards and the photograph cards. I think they're called checkies. Those are also signed. So I'll do a social post on that as well to share all of that with you. And because I purchased so many, I do have some duplicates now. So I'll have a think about maybe like a giveaway or kind of handing some out maybe at an event that might take place in person. Stay tuned on that. I had kind of a half-baked idea, but just a couple of things that are floating around on the housekeeping side of things. I'm really excited to do both of those bonus episodes. Really excited about the trading cards that came in. More excited than I thought I would be, honestly. But keep your eyes on social media. Keep your eyes on the podcast feed for all of that good stuff. Like I say, today we have so much to get into. So I want to say a quick thank you for tuning in and hitting the play button, hitting the download button. Today's going to be a really fun show. So let's go ahead and jump right on in. Starting off with the news of the week, and I think the biggest piece of news, it actually might have dropped last Friday technically, but a little bit too late for last week's show, just based on when I record. Hyper Misao started up a YouTube channel. If you want to search for her YouTube channel, it is called Misao_TJP. You type that into YouTube and it'll come right up. Right now there's only one video on there, but it is a very important video because Hyper Misao announced that on Tuesday, September 15th, from the Kitazawa Town Hall, Hype 4 is going to be taking place. Really, really, really excited about this. If you are unfamiliar with the Hype shows or you haven't seen any of the previous 3 Hype shows, these are produce shows straight from the mind of Hyper Misao. However, they are not just your standard wrestling shows. There are some wrestling matches included in on these shows, but they're more of like a narrative experience, almost like a live theater type of a thing. I know a lot of people have trouble because they're not subtitled and they're all in Japanese, but every year there are a number of great resources online, people who do a lot of translations and post the dialogue or at least a summary of what is going on so you can kind of follow along. They are very narrative rich, and by that I mean there's a lot of emotion in them. The very first Hype show featured Mihiro Kiryu in a very prominent role, and it was very heartwarming and touching in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected. And last year's Hype 3 show was centered around Yuki Aino. These are rarely ever about Misao. Like, Misao is around and a part of them, but she always picks a member of the roster and kind of puts them to the forefront as like the main character, the protagonist, if you will. So I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing what the storyline is all about, who's going to be featured from the roster. Of course, there's always some insanity. Like last year, there was aliens and had to do with aliens and pro wrestling or something. It's Hyper Misao at the end of the day, right? So there's always like time travel or aliens or something kooky going on, but they're a lot of fun. This was, as I said, this was announced on Misao's brand new YouTube channel. It was then re-announced at Standalone 2.6. Within the YouTube video, Misao, it was pretty telling. Misao said that she typically decides doing Hype usually around April or May, but this year she waited until the last minute because she was unsure if she was going to produce another show. She said that Tetsuya Koda is such a good representative and kind of general manager of sorts for TJPW that he actually preemptively booked a venue for her, but that deadline for canceling the venue was so imminent. And Misao was saying, I always wait until the last minute to do anything. And I didn't know that he did this. And he messaged me like, hey, you're going to do Hype because I got you a venue, but we have to tell them if we're using it or not. And so Misao kind of impulsively made the decision that she will do Hype 4 and it will be coming in September. She also said that her YouTube channel is going to feature some behind the scenes content in the lead up to Hype. She said that she puts a lot of effort personally into the shows, both like creatively and storyline wise, but also all of the other roster members do a lot of rehearsals and add input, and she wanted to capture all of that to build hype, no pun intended, I guess. But keep your eyes on Hyper Misao's YouTube channel. I'm really excited to kind of see the journey of Hype 4 as it goes from idea all the way through the actual production of the show in September. Really excited for that. Again, her YouTube channel is, you just go to YouTube, you'll type in Misao_TJP, no W, and it'll come right up. Something else we can look forward to, and a little bit sooner than September, is Summer Sun Princess 2.6, We have a few match announcements for this show, which will be on July 18th. That's a Saturday. We'll be at Corcoran Hall. A couple of these match announcements will be spoilers for the show that we are going to talk about in just a little bit, Standalone 2-6. That's where a lot of these title matches came about. So we'll go through the card that's announced right now very briefly, and then we will go through how the matches came to be, who challenged, when they challenged, what they said, all that good stuff in a little bit of time. But for right now, Summer Sun Princess, we know that we have Mirai scheduled to appear. We do not know Mirai's match just yet. We also know that we have Sakura Hirota scheduled to appear. We also do not know Sakura Hirota's match just yet. The matches that we do know, this was announced last week, but we will have a singles contest between Aja Kong and Arisu Endo. Huge matchup for Arisu Endo, very challenging matchup. And then our 3 title matches that were decided, the International Princess title will be on the line. Suzume will be defending against Wakana Uehara. The Princess Tag titles, Daydream is going to defend against Kyoraku Kiyome, allegedly. We'll talk about why that's allegedly in just a little bit, but that is the idea of the match. It is very one-sided right now. We'll get into all of that. And then the main event will be the Princess of Princess title, Yuki Arai going to defend against the leader, the ace of the company, Miyu Yamashita. There will unfortunately be a few absences that we already know about for Summer Sun Princess. One of them we talked briefly about last week. That will be Kira Summer. Starting on the 18th, the exact day that Summer Sun Princess goes down, Kira Summer is going to be heading back to Australia for a little bit. She has a couple of independent bookings there, a little bit of a homecoming for her. So unfortunately, Kira Summer will not be a part of Summer Sun Princess. It was also announced just recently that Fumarine will be unavailable to make it to Summer Sun Princess. She has a prior commitment on the 18th. So unfortunately, no Fumarine refereeing for Summer Sun. And within that same announcement where this was a tweet, TJPW mentioned Fumarine would be absent. They confirmed again that Kira would be absent. They also mentioned Shino Suzuki in that post as well. I don't think that's too much of a surprise. Shino is on an indefinite hiatus. So keyword being indefinite. We don't know when she's coming back. It's a little telling that, Summer Sun Princess is over a month away and they're basically ruling her out. So that's unfortunate. I would have hoped to see Shino back by then, but again, would rather her take the time that she needs, gets healthy with whatever might be ailing her. So I suppose it's also totally possible that TJPW reverses course. If she does get cleared in time, they say, hey, just kidding, Shino will actually be on the show. But as of now, TJPW is acting like Shino will not be a part of Summer Sun Princess. There's still many matches to come. There's only been 4 announced, and TJPW has said there's going to be about 9 or 10. So we still have a good 5 or 6 matches left to go. Don't know what Mirai is going to do. I'm really curious about that. We don't know where Sakura Hirota is going to factor in. There might even be some other guests that get announced as well. We still have a solid 5 or 6 weeks before this one. But so far, it's shaping up to be an exciting one. In a little bit of lighter news, I don't know if this qualifies as news, but it was definitely made some waves on Twitter and on social media. TJPW may be getting a mascot. There was a video that was posted to YouTube, which featured Miyu Yamashita, Suzume, Pam Harajuku, and Kira Summer. And they basically started off the video by saying, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of discussion backstage about why TJPW doesn't have a mascot yet. And I don't know if this is intended to be 100% serious or if this is just something a little fun. I would think because of the way it was presented and how it's on the TJPW YouTube channel that this is 100% serious. And I say that too because TJPW's sister company, DDT, they have a mascot, Pokotan. Pokotan has made an appearance on a TJPW show or two. He's been the Ironman champion as well, he or she or they for Pokotan. So I wouldn't totally discount this. The reason I want to bring this up is because this video was fantastic. The 3 women the 4 women that were a part of this video, 3 of them, Suzume, Pam, and Kira, were all saying that they have an artist background. They design a lot of gear for TJPW. They design a lot of their own gear, not gear, but merchandise, t-shirts and whatnot. And for some of the other women as well, they also design some merch for other women or other wrestlers in TJPW. Each of them then showed a drawing of their mock-up for the mascot, like a potential idea that they threw in the ring. And then they decided to go roster member by roster member. They weren't all in attendance, but they all submitted a sketch or a coloring or a drawing of what they thought the mascot would be. And like, some of these were really, really good. There are some very talented women in TJPW. Some of these were insane. Like, Miyu Watanabe just drew a tiara with arms and legs, and that was about it. I had a friend that said it reminded him of the Burger King like crown chicken nuggets, and it kind of did. Maybe she's a Burger King fan, who knows? Arisu also just drew herself in a bear costume, and that was her idea for the mascot. I don't know how that would work if Arisu had to wrestle at every show, how she would also then be the mascot in the bear costume, or would it be a mascot version of Arisu? I think we're probably going way too far down a rabbit hole. There's no word on just how official this is or when this mascot will take place or if they're voting or what's happening. I think it's worth noting that when they went through the whole roster, they named Kaya Toribami as someone who submitted a drawing. So obviously this was filmed before March. So we're talking quite a while ago. So this has been an idea that's been kind of floating around, I guess, for quite some time. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on it because I think it could be fun. I think a mascot, if this is truly, truly a thing, I think a mascot could be fun and fit the vibe of TJPW. But we'll just have to keep our eyes peeled to see just how serious this endeavor really is. We do have one show to dive into this week, and that was our latest Korakuen Hall show, Standalone 2-6. This one went down on Sunday, June 7th. It was a little over 3 hours in length, so a bit longer on the Korakuen Hall event scale. We had one absentee competitor here. That was Miyu Yamashita. She was over in Eve wrestling Chris Statlander, a match that we are also going to talk about today a little bit later on. But Miyu was billed as absent for this show. In some great news, TJPW did announce they had a full house at Korakuen Hall. 1,093 fans were in attendance. The last time TJPW was here was, of course, just last month for Yes Wonderland, where they drew a very similar number, 1,097. We did have English commentary. Both Mr. Haku and Bali and Aki were present. We didn't get any guests on commentary, which was a bit unfortunate. I thought we might get Akira Summer, since Kira was in the opening match, or maybe even Fumarine. Sometimes Fumarine jumps on. We actually got all the action started on the pre-show before any opening remarks and house rules were read out. For this one, it's worth knowing that Sumire Uesaka, the famous voice actress in Japan, the current DDT Ironman heavy metalweight champion, was sitting in on Japanese commentary. So the Japanese commentary booth did have a special guest for most of this show. She did have her title with her, of course. And her Vampire Cafe, her Vampire Concept Cafe, was also sponsoring a match on this show. So Sumire was quite busy here. During the pre-show, Antonio Honda busted his way into Korakuen Hall. I don't know who let him in. He was dressed to compete. He basically ran up to the stage, ran up on top of Sumire, and tried to get that Ironman title from her, but he was no match for Sumire. Sumire used some, I think it was described as vampire magic, if I'm quoting it correctly. She was able to stop him, and Honda very quickly found his way out of Korakuen Hall in a tizzy, so he did not successfully capture that Ironman title, but not the last time we're going to talk about that title on today's show. Following Honda's failed attempt at the belt, we did see Rise Shirai get in the ring. I thought it was kind of funny. Immediately before she got in the ring, she was like, "Everybody, I'm so sorry for that interruption. I don't know what that was. Please ignore it. That was not planned. We apologize profusely." Rise Shirai then got in the ring, gave her opening remarks in the house rules. She did invite Hyper Misao to the ring. That was where they re-announced Hype 4. And then we got the Up Up girls who came out and sang Kawatsuyo Challenger. I wanted to note during the performance, this is a song where each of the four girls have like a solo part, and they all collectively sang Shino Suzuki's part. So I thought that was kind of nice. Our opening contest was a 6-woman tag team match. Yuki Aino, Ren Kanatsu, and Shion Kanzaki teamed together to take on Arisu Endo, Sakura Hattori, and Kira Summer. Quite the combination of competitors on both of these teams. Right off the bat, we got some new gear from Ren Kanatsu. I thought she looked terrific. It was a little bit more purple. She had on like dark purple shorts. Very cool to see Ren already debuting multiple new sets of gear. And I believe Yuki Aino had some new gear as well. It was either brand new gear or gear that we haven't seen her wear in quite some time. She also dyed her hair dark black. Surprisingly, this one started out with both Ren and Shion really on top against Sakura. Shion went for her Ganbare corner spot. Sakura eventually was countering with a palm strike. She tagged in Arisu. Arisu and Kira then just spend some time beating the snot out of Shion for the vast majority of this matchup. Shion finally managed to get Aino in the ring. Aino and Kira go power for power against one another. Kira tags Sakura back in, who takes Aino down with the number of strikes. I also want to note that flying forearm that she does, that Rakatecho forearm, she's definitely quickened up the pace of going through all of the hand signs, and I think it's a lot better now. She's moving a lot quicker with that. Ren and Arisu tag in, which is like all Arisu, probably comes as no surprise. Ren does connect with the Ares Comet, and she manages to lock in the shoulder bites submission. Arisu rolls it into a pin, hits a thrust kick, and then a water wheel suplex. Things break down at this point. Everybody jumps in. There's a flurry of moves going around. Arisu then hoists Ren up for the Juno Okite for the win in 10 minutes and 11 seconds. Because this was a Quirkman Hall show, we do have backstage comments for every match that took place. For this opening match, the winning team said it was only natural that they won, given the makeup of their team. On the other side of things, Aino told Shion and Ren, keep working hard. Ren mentioned that this match actually marks the start of her second year in professional wrestling. So Ren already completed her 1-year anniversary. I think it was on June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. It was early June, but quick congrats to Ren Kanatsu there. Solid 6-woman tag to start off the show. Got the crowd in the right mood. Set the table for the rest of the show. I did think that Arisu would win. I thought she might pin Shion, but Ren was unfortunately the one to eat defeat here right around her 1-year anniversary. I guess you have to not pin Shion every single time. She's probably going to get pinned in all the singles contests, so I suppose it does make sense. Speaking of singles matches, we then had 3 straight singles matches. The first one, we saw Chika Nanase go one-on-one with Yuri from Ganbare Pro. This is 2 months in a row now that Yuri has been on a Quirk and Hall show for TJPW. They locked up to start. The advantage went to Yuri, who locked in a really snug headlock. Chika responded with one of her own, but it's Yuri who manages to get the upper hand with some really nasty-looking face wash kicks in the corner. Yuri stayed on the attack with a sleeper hold, some kicks coming from really all directions. Chika countered with a power slam, tried to get the Inari Tori in, but Yuri outpowered her, locked in another sleeper hold. They then traded some strong forearms back and forth. Chika comes out on top of that battle with a number of stiff elbows to the face. Chika went to the well one too many times, though. Yuri managed to duck one of the elbows. She locked in a body scissors sleeper hold, and she picks up the submission victory in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Afterwards, Yuri tried to extend a pinky, kind of like a handshake thing to Chika, but it was just a ruse, and Chika fell for it because she pulled the pinky away and smacked Chika right in the face, and Chika didn't take too kindly to that. She was visibly frustrated after getting smacked in the face, I think as most people would be. Backstage, Yuri gave Chika some praise and said that she will come back to TJPW anytime she's called upon. She really enjoys her time here. She also said she would really like to fight Toga as well, so maybe we'll see that in the near future. Chika said it was a dream come true for her to fight Yuri. It was an opponent that she always wanted to have a singles match against, but she did say she will not be forgetting that slap anytime soon. I thought this was a fine match. I think they matched up well with one another. It didn't find like the spark for me that I was hoping it would when I did my preview, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was an enjoyable match. The whole like Chika frustration thing, I don't really buy it. Like they do this with Chika every couple of months. They recently did it when she lost to Wakana and she just like stared her down, like stared bullets into Wakana. It just never really goes anywhere. She'll show this frustration and this passion and this fire, but then she'll just go to the next show and it'll just be normal old Chika. So I don't think that like anything will come of this. I don't know if we'll get a rematch with Yuri. I don't know if Chika's going to reinvent herself or anything. To just spend a second on Chika, I kind of feel like Chika's approaching a turning point in her career. She's about 2 years into this now, maybe 2.5 years into 2 years into this. A lot of her classmates are starting to find their form. You have someone like Uda Takami, who's been challenging for titles. She had an International Princess title challenge. She had a tag team title challenge at this specific show. You have Kira Summer, who is the other class member from 2024. Kira recently kind of like reinvented her look, has new gear and a new style. Chika still has the same gear. She might have changed it maybe once since she debuted. Of course, she dyed her hair blonde. But I feel like she's at that turning point where either a gear change might be in order or some sort of a character shift. But I think Chika is kind of quickly approaching that point where she's like, it's time for her to level up in a way. We'll have to see what happens. I really would love them to capitalize on this frustration thing. I think I've said it before on the show, but I feel like Chika could be a good... There's no like faces and heels in TJPW. They're all faces, but like I feel like Chika could be a really good kind of shades of gray character. Something that TJPW doesn't have a lot of. And I feel like she might be able to fit that role quite well. So we'll keep our eyes on Chika. We'll see kind of what's next for her in the coming shows and for Summer Sun Princess. Our second singles contest was a matchup between Wakana Uehara and Toga. These two have met twice before in singles matches, both victories for Wakana. And then we did have a preview tag for this just last week. Toga managed to pin Wakana, so Toga had a slight recent advantage heading into this one. They locked up and wrestled around on the mat to start out, no one really gaining that immediate upper hand. It was Toga that ended up breaking through that stalemate. She hit a power slam, some attacks in the corner. Wakana fought back with a cartwheel dodge. She dodged a lariat, and then she managed to lock in a modified leg scissors. She tried to go for what I think was a guillotine choke. She like jumped into Toga's arms, but Toga muscled her up into a slam suplex. Really nice maneuver. And then she rolled her way into the Rolling Thunder, but Wakana immediately popped up coming out of that Rolling Thunder and rolled Toga into a banana pillow. Toga did reach the ropes. She hit a few strikes. Wakana countered a strike with a snap suplex, and then she tried to go for the sushi tornado. Toga stuffed it. Wakana then managed to hit a step up in Saguri, which looked pretty nice, and then she connects with the sushi tornado on the second attempt. She wins the match in 8 minutes and 58 seconds. Backstage, Wakana said that she has another goal in mind after losing the Princess Tag titles, and this victory today was necessary move towards that goal. This will not be the last time we talk about Wakana on this show. On the other side, Toga mentioned that she's not going to continue chasing Wakana in order to surpass her. She wants to forge her own path, not listen to a lot of the outside noise or the comparisons to her classmate in Wakana. So Wakana remains undefeated here against Toga. She moves to 3-0. The match was fine. I said this in my preview. I wasn't like really super jazzed up about this supposed rivalry between the two of them. Personally, I just don't think the history is there to support the way that they framed this as like a very long-standing feud. The match itself was fine. Nothing negative to say about the match. It became pretty apparent in the lead up and throughout the show that like, okay, Wakana winning, especially as you see her backstage comments here, right? We have a new goal in mind. It was apparent that Wakana was kind of destined for something else after this. So it was a quick singles victory for her, continue building Wakana. And then we will talk about what that led to in just a little bit. Our final non-title singles contest saw Haru Kazushiro go one-on-one with our visitor, Mirai. Mirai has been making a host of appearances for TJPW since the start of the year. I love it. I'm all for it. I think Mirai adds like a tough wall for some of the younger generation to climb. Someone who's not full-time in TJPW, but who has the history and the backstory within the company. Haru held her own in the early going. She stayed on the early attack, really working over Mirai's arm. Mirai managed to outsmart her, then start doing some arm work of her own. They went back and forth, like literally like an arm for an arm was how I would describe this. Mirai managed to hit a lariat and a back body drop, diversified her offense a little bit. Haru blocked a second lariat. She tried to go for the Izuyoi, but Mirai eventually reached the ropes. Haru can't quite get the fisherman suplex executed. Mirai blocked that twice. Mirai tried for another lariat, which Haru dodged. Haru attempted a springboard attack, but Mirai caught her in the ropes. Mirai tried to go for the Miramare shock. Haru, though, managed to wiggle out and get an armbar in, like mid-move. Mirai eventually lands the Miramare shock, and then she pretzels Haru into what she calls the Suteki Mirai lock, and Haru eventually taps out at 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Really nasty looking submission hold. Backstage, Mirai praised Haru. She said she has a really, really great looking arm lock for someone who is only 3 years into the business. And she said that if Haru continues to develop more joint holds, she can truly, truly turn into a terrifying competitor. She also really appreciated that Mirai focused on submission wrestling when a lot of younger competitors will focus on an aerial style or a hard-hitting style. It's a little bit more flashy. Haru said that Mirai was someone that she actually used to watch a lot when she was a fan of TJPW back in the day. So facing her was a mixture of this strange feeling, excitement, and then also pretty meaningful to her. Very technically driven match here that I'm sure many, many people are going to enjoy. I think it's crazy to think that Haru is only from the 2023 class and she's like, 18, 19 years old. She's so good. Every company these days seems to have like this young prodigy type, like the Senka Katsukis, the Seri Yamalkas. To me, it feels like Haru is that young prodigy of TJPW. I also wonder who Mirai is going to face at Summer Sun Princess because she didn't challenge anybody here. So I wonder if Mirai is set up for another special singles match next month at Korakuen Hall. We then took a hard right turn into Comedy World. We had a 3-way tag team match. Kiraku Kiyome, Raku Palm, and Himawari and Mifu Ishida all went at it. This was the match that was presented by Twilight Rouge, the Vampire Concept Cafe from Sumire Uesaka, and because this was a 3-way, tags were not necessary, so a chaotic match on paper was very chaotic in practice. Before the match, Misao got on the microphone. She said that when there's money on the line, Kiraku Kiyome is extra strong. The money that was on the line, to clarify, was not Japanese yen. It was 1 million rouge, which is currency that is only accepted at Twilight Rouge. But I guess for Kiraku Kiyome, they did some research and Misao said, you know what? I found out that the conversion rate to Japanese yen is actually pretty good. So they were super stoked to be able to compete for these 1 million rouge notes. But they were attacked mid-speech. Everyone basically just jumped them from behind. Misao was able to counter pretty quickly, though. She had her cold spray at the ready, and it was themed to Twilight Rouge. It was a red can this time instead of blue, so she did come prepared. There was a lot of chaos early. There was a lot of chaos throughout most of this match, quite frankly, but in the early going, we had a lot of Mifu cheering. There was a duvet that Raku brought to the ring, an Oyasumi Express. Mifu and Himawari executed this really interesting combination of Irish whips and hair whips on all of the other teams. The other teams banded together. They had a quick tug of war over Himawari's hair, like Himawari's hair was the rope. Mifu came to the rescue with her pom-poms. She climbed onto Himawari's shoulders, did this like very unorthodox like helicopter attack using Himawari's hair. She was whipping it around like in a circle. Everyone gets dumped to the outside somehow. That allowed Shoko to hit a tope suicida. Misao tried for the I Am a Hero dive, but she got thwarted by Raku, who rolled up Mifu. Raku then manages to get in a double guillotine choke on both Misao and Mifu. Raku, Misao, and Mifu then have this wild back and forth amongst the three of them. There were Popo chops, roll-ups. Mifu hit an X Factor. All of the partners then come in for some trios offense of their own. Palm gets the Lafare Harajuku onto Shoko. Shoko gets a 619 onto Himawari. Mifu and Himawari start teaming up against Kiraku Kiyome. They ended up tripping them with Himawari's hair, like a tripwire of sorts. I thought that was a pretty creative spot. We get more multi-woman roll-ups. Misao does manage to hit her hero dive on the second attempt. Raku corrals everyone in a line and hits a 5-way Russian leg sweep. Palm kicked them all in the shins for a little bit of extra oomph before they went down. Coming out of that Russian leg sweep, Palm tried to go for a double palm to justice on Nakajima and Himawari, but Shoko moved out of the way and Palm just obliterated Himawari. She came down right on the back of her head. Shoko ran in there, jackknife pinned Palm, and she stole the win for the team in 8 minutes and 42 seconds. I know Palm weighs maybe 110 pounds soaking wet, but someone should check on Himawari because I think she might be dead after getting that attack. So the match ends. Sumire Uesaka and her vampire trainees enter the ring to present the 1 million Rouge to Kyoraku Kiyome. Shoko gets on the microphone. She thanks them. She says she's actually a big fan of Sumire, and she said, I have a favor to ask of you. It turns out that favor is the Ironman title, because Shoko started biting Sumire right there in the middle of the ring. Sumire gives up, so Shoko becomes your new Ironman champion, the 1,818th title holder. Not to be outdone, Misao immediately rolled Nakajima up. She then won the belt, the 1,819th champion. Of course, that leads to Kyoraku Kiyome bickering amongst the two of them. Sumire jumps in the middle. She starts screaming. She takes back the Rouge notes that she gave. She said this behavior is unacceptable, and she left the ring. Kyoraku Kiyome are so upset. They go chasing after her, tail behind their legs. They're apologizing. They're saying she's super cute. They're getting the crowd to chant her name. Sumire is like, oh my God, fine, stop, take it back. She gives them the notes back. And then out of nowhere, Palm appears. She rolls up Misao to win the Ironman title, the 1,820th champion. So coming out of this, there was a bit of a hot potato with the Ironman title. It ended the segment, not the day, but this segment, it ended with Palm being the champion. Kyoraku Kiyome did get their 1 million Rouge. Sumire, very confused by everything that happened, just went and sat back down on commentary. She had a job to finish. We heard from everybody backstage for this. Kyoraku Kiyome vowed to heal their wounds with no belt after they came up empty-handed with that Ironman title at Twilight Rouge. Shoko, though, stole Misao's Rouge envelope and ran away, so the discourse between the teammates is not done just yet. Raku awoke from a nap backstage. She noticed that Palm had the belt, ended up chasing her away. Mifu Ishida asked Himawari if she could continue to use her hair as a weapon when they teamed up next. Himawari was like, oh my God, please, Shino, come back soon. So mean. So mean. Mifu was right there. Mifu was, I thought, a very good tag team partner. And besides, Himawari uses her hair on her own, so what's the difference if her tag team partner does, right? We did also surprisingly hear from Sumire. Sumire said that she was surprised at how quickly the belt bounced around, but she felt that that meant that she was a good champion after holding it for 3 very quiet months. We're not done yet here, though, because later on in the evening, Palm was hiding from Raku. Remember, Raku woke up and chased her away. Palm was hiding. She managed to find an empty room where she settled down and celebrated, or so she thought, because she was surprise attacked by Kazuki Hirata from DDT. Kazuki clubbed her over the head with a hammer, very vicious attack, and Kazuki won the belt. He became the 1,821st champion. All of this was wild. The match, the antics afterwards, the comments, the backstage segment, this was just a fire hose of insanity right to the face. I would guess that this means that this is the end of the Ironman title in TJPW for a little bit. It seems like it will be heading back to DDT now that it's on the hands of Kazuki. I think that DDT was running a storyline where whoever brought the belt back to TJPW would win a free Shinkansen ticket for a year or something like that. They had a storyline going, so it does seem like this belt is going to go back to DDT for a little bit. It's going to surely be missed in TJPW. I do really hope that it comes back soon. It's been a lot of fun to kind of chart the course of this belt from, really even from September, I have to say. So hopefully we see the Ironman title back again soon. With our undercard out of the way, it was now time for our 3 title matches on this show. In the first one, the International Princess title was on the line. Suzume, in her V3 defense, defended against Mihiro Kiryu. These two have met twice before. It is their first time meeting since 2021. They've split those matches 1 apiece. There were also 3 preview tags, with Suzume holding the slight edge 2-1 in those, although that one Mihiro win, Suzume was directly pinned. The crowd was very, very into this match. There were split chants at the start from the crowd. Mihiro started out keeping pace with Suzume, tripping her up into an apology, but Suzume nicely rolled backwards into a pin out of the apology. I thought that was nicely put together. Suzume's speed proved a little too much for Mihiro, who had to roll out of the ring for a breather. Suzume ended up missing a plancha to the outside. That allowed Mihiro to hit a backbreaker. She then placed Suzume into the audience seats and apologized on top of her for Suzume making such a mess outside. I thought that was kind of funny. They stayed outside for a little bit with Mihiro hitting a sidewalk slam, followed by Suzume hitting a facebuster. They rolled into the ring. Mihiro goes right on the attack with an elbow drop and a modified figure 4 that kind of looked like she was apologizing while she had it locked in. They proceeded to trade offense a bit, with Mihiro mostly controlling with her size advantage, but every once in a while Suzume would show bursts of quickness, connect with a facebuster or a drop kick here and there. Mihiro attempted another sidewalk slam, but Suzume countered it into that spider submission that she does where she's like hanging onto the back of her opponent. Mihiro, though, managed to counter that into a really nice swinging sidewalk slam. Mihiro climbed the corner for her apology knee drop, but Suzume met her up on the top rope. She facebustered her onto the ring post. She then attempted a ring-a-bell, but Mihiro caught her into another sidewalk slam. She hits a crazy stiff elbow and screams, but Suzume pops up for a ring-a-bell out of nowhere. Both of the competitors were then down for a little bit. They crawled up to their knees, they locked eyes, they traded forearms back and forth. Suzume tried to hit her springboard facebuster, but Mihiro caught her once again, hit her with a really nice spine buster, only got a 2 count. She lined up for another apology knee drop. I don't know if she'll ever learn that she never hits the apology knee drop. She shouted from the top of the corner that she will become the champion, but of course missed the double knee drop. Suzume barely connected with a gory bomb, then ran the ropes with a facebuster. The ring-a-bell then connects for the V3 defense in 14 minutes and 49 seconds. Afterwards, the two friends shared a hug in the middle of the ring. And then Wakana appeared, Wakana Uehara. Wakana came to the ring, took the microphone, and she recalled how Suzume used to say that she had such a hungry spirit. She said she's even hungrier now, and she issued a challenge for the International Princess belt. Suzume, in response, said that she always wanted to see Wakana eat live, but she certainly won't be eating such a large belt, and she accepted her challenge. The talking continued backstage. Suzume said that facing her best friend Mihiro in such a serious match was a little bit difficult, but she was very happy to hear Korakuen Hall chanting for Mihiro. She was also very happy to hear Wakana challenge for the title, but she reiterated that Wakana will not be gobbling up her International Princess belt. Mihiro gave some pretty brief comments. They're actually quite nice in the big picture. She said that she was frustrated with the loss, but after the meet and greet event, she wanted to invite Suzume out for dinner. And I think it's so nice. It's so wholesome. Just two friends who are really good friends, have a special moment, beat the crap out of each other. And Mihiro's like, that was fun. I'm upset that I lost and that was fun. But the one person that I want to just spend my time with and talk about it is the woman I just beat up. And that's Suzume. I just thought that was so Mihiro. Wakana gave backstage comments for the second time today. She said that she spent a lot of time thinking about what that next goal would be after she lost the Princess Tag titles. And after she competed in a number of singles matches recently, she really felt compelled to challenge for a singles title, and she selected the International Princess title. I thought this was quite a good match. Mihiro really put her working boots on. I think it showed. I think a lot of people will be surprised at how well she can wrestle, especially after all of the recent Ironman Title comedy that she did. I think Mihiro has always been really good about telling a story, whether that's comedy, like the Ironman Title stuff that we've seen her do, something like that first ever hype show that we were talking about earlier in the show. She's just a really good storyteller. And honestly, that's a huge piece of being a good professional wrestler. Being a professional wrestler is not always just being able to wrestle between the ropes. There is charisma behind it. There is acting behind it. There is comedy behind it. There is all sorts of things that go into it. And storytelling is certainly a big component. So I do think it really makes Mihiro a good wrestler. She's also kind of got that like everyman quality that makes her very relatable, very endearing to a lot of people. Like she's someone that you want to see succeed and do well. Like you can see yourself in Mihiro. I'm sure that there will be mixed feelings about Wakana challenging for the title belt, but personally, I am looking forward to it. I like Wakana. I think Wakana gets a bad rap. I don't really understand why. I don't think she's a bad wrestler by any means. I think she's getting better. Remember, she's only been wrestling for 2.5, 3 years. So it's, sure you have your Harus of that same class, but those are those prodigies that we spoke about, right? Like, I think Wakana's developing her wrestling abilities at a very appropriate pace. So I'm very excited to see what this singles contest holds for us at Summer Sun Princess. In our semifinal, the Princess Tag titles were on the line. Daydream, in their first defense of these belts, were going up against the challengers Mizuki and Uda Takami. 3 preview tags for this one as well. The slight edge 2-1 goes to the challengers, although I will say in that one Daydream victory, Uda Takami tapped out. They shake hands at the start, but I think that Daydream should have known something was up because Mizuki wouldn't just shake Rika's hand. She was never shaking her hand in the lead up here. Mizuki and Uda kicked them in the gut. The two of them, though, they still can't get on the same page about that Irish whip maneuver into the corner, and that allows Daydream to go on the early offensive. Eventually, we settle out with Uda and Rika, and that's no good for Uda. She takes a prolonged beating from both of the Daydream members. Rika even rings her leg into the corner post at one point. She finally manages a tag to Mizuki, who gives a revenge beating to Rika. Rika quickly gets in a figure 4. She gets hung up in the ropes, missing a hip attack, which allows Mizuki to cross-body her through the ropes. Mizuki then tried for a top rope attack, which Rika countered into a twist of fate off the corner. Miyu Watanabe re-enters, starts power attacking, but Mizuki blocks a giant swing. Daydream go for the Daydream Eternity. Uda hops in to cause a bit of confusion, break that up. Mizuki and Uda get in some tandem offense of their own, and then Uda goes for the Koala Clutch on Miyu. Miyu powers her into the corner, then hits a crazy swinging backbreaker. She goes for the swing attempt on Uda. Uda is able to block it herself, and then somehow counter it up into a roll-up attempt. She goes back to the Koala Clutch a second time. Mizuki and Rika jump in. Mizuki puts Rika in the crossface, so we get some stereo submissions. Daydream somehow shoved the two of them into one another, and then Miyu lines up this absolutely insane double giant swing, front and back on Mizuki and Uda. Just incredible. She had Uda by the legs out front like a normal giant swing, and then she tucked Mizuki's legs under her arms, and Mizuki was falling off the back of her. I don't know how. I should probably stop questioning what Miyu Watanabe could do, but it was incredible. Uda wiggled out of a Canadian backbreaker, but she got clubbed with 2 huge batting hammers. Uda started running around like a crazy person. Watanabe met her in midair for that twisting power slam, that Randy Orton style power slam. That was awesome. They both kind of ran at each other. Watanabe jumped, met her. They both twisted in midair and she slammed her down. It looked beautiful. Miyu tried to double power slam Mizuki and Uda, but they countered into a roll-up for 2. Mizuki hit a double whirling candy on Daydream, and then Uda locked in a 3rd Koala Clutch. Mizuki added a diving stomp to the back of Miyu's head for good measure on that one. Rika braked it up by absolutely decapitating Uda with a hip attack. Mizuki fends off both members of Daydream, but Rika fights back, starts choking Mizuki. Miyu caved in Uda's chest with a batting hammer. Daydream then hit the Daydream Eternity on Mizuki. Miyu hoists up Uda going for the teardrop, and they do some sort of missile hip teardrop combination. That defeats Uda Takami. Daydream retains in 18 minutes and 51 seconds. Afterwards, Uda had this expression on her face that looked like she was on lithium or something. She was in a different world after the beating she took. The 4 of them do shake hands, and then Daydream get on the microphone, and they call out Kyoraku Kiyome, saying that last year at Summer Sun Princess, they were the challengers while Kyoraku Kiyome were the champions. They were unsuccessful in that challenge, and this year they want some revenge by defending their titles against Kyoraku Kiyome. Shoko and Misao were out into the ring at this point, and they said, "We are honored that you want to defend against us. You reverse dominated us. We remember that match quite well. We remember defending our titles against you. There's really only one thing we have to say to this challenge, and that is that we absolutely refuse. We will not be facing you this year at Summer Sun Princess." The Kyoraku Kiyome said that they were recently unable to defeat the Inspiration for the title belts, and they said that last year was so special that they'd rather just keep that memory preserved, and they just didn't think that it was time for them to challenge yet. And while they were talking, Daydream snuck away and they grabbed some of the Sasumata poles. Yes, the Sasumata poles are back, and they very aggressively coerced Kyoraku Kiyome into accepting the title challenge. The Sasumata poles are these long kind of trident looking things. There's no middle part of the trident. It's just like the U part. And from what I remembered researching a long time ago, they were basically used, I think it was in like the samurai era or the shogun era as some sort of a weapon or something. And like then police started to use them. It translates to like man catcher or something. It's a very awkward translation, but they were used as like a crowd control device where you could like kind of corral someone in that U-shaped thing. It seems very antiquated. I don't think they are used at all anymore, or very, very rarely. It's so random and it's so specific, but Daydream seems to love these Sasamata poles. This was a storyline last year for some princess, so the Sasamata poles are back once again. Backstage, Daydream said that they were very happy that Kyoraku Kiyome gladly accepted their reverse nomination. Rika praised Mizuki, but she absolutely refused to acknowledge Uda Takami, saying that they can challenge again, but that they will absolutely be crushed once again. Miyu labeled her double giant swing as the Blooming Ceremony double giant swing, something to do with flowers and how she thought both Mizuki and Uda were blooming flowers. I don't know, it was a very convoluted way of naming the move. We did also hear from Kyoraku Kiyome, who insists that they never agreed to anything, and they will continue to refuse Daydream's challenge. They are now forming a coalition that is called the Challenge Canceling Community. So I'm sure we will hear more from, let's call them the Triple C, the Challenge Canceling Community. Mizuki said that she was very happy that Uda helped her challenge for these tag team titles once again. She said that she wants Uda to spread her wings. She doesn't want to get in the way of her development. She wants Uda to do what she finds is fun. But she did say she always talks about going to space, and she could certainly use an alien by her side to do it. Uda responded by saying she was having so much fun with Mizuki right now. So it sounds like their team will continue on, at least like softly speaking. The match here, far and away the match of the night so far. All four of these women were working on another level. Each of them played their role in the story very well. I think it went about as I expected it to, with Uda getting beaten up for most of it and then ultimately taking the loss. But predictable doesn't mean bad. This was one heck of a good match. It was a heck of a lot of fun. I don't know how I feel about the Sasamata poles being run back, but I guess we'll see if that's a huge part of the storyline. It kind of feels like we got enough of those last year. And in our main event, the Princess of Princess title was on the line. Battle of the Yukis, Battle of the Big Boots, Yuki Arai in her V3 defense, taking on first-time challenger Yuki Kamifuku. These two have met 3 times before, with a 2-1 edge going to Yuki Arai. There were also 3 preview tags with a 2-1 edge going to Yuki Kamifuku. Of course, challenger Kamiyu, first one out. She immediately took off her entrance robe when she started to walk out into Corcoran Hall. She revealed some new gear and some new lightly colored hair. Very, very cool to see a new look Kamiyu. It's been quite a while since we've seen her really change anything up with her gear and her hair and her style. They immediately battled over big boots, and they found a way to simultaneously lock each other in a head scissors. Arai began working over Kamiyu's legs with her Indian deathlock submission. She stayed on the early advantage until Kamiyu booted her to the outside. Outside, Kamiyu just straight up smacked Arai in the face, and Arai was none too pleased with that. She slapped her back, and that just set Kamiyu off. She booted her. She tossed her into the post. She set her up in the audience. She hit a running big boot. Then she sat on top of her in a chair. Like, my goodness, Kamiyu was like unlocked here. Back inside, Kamiyu maintained the advantage, locking in a leg submission of her own. She wrenched the face of Arai with her hands as well. Arai managed to fight her way back. She ends up stealing Kamiyu's springboard big boot, and that really ticked off Kamiyu. She booted Arai multiple times on the apron. Arai counters with a boot of her own. They go back to the floor once again. They briefly fight on the outside. They were slamming each other's faces into the apron. Back inside, we get more boots to faces. Kamiyu shows Arai just how that springboard big boot is really done. They trade big boots like forearms in the middle of the ring. Arai hits a spinning brainbuster. She then locks in the scorpion lock. Kamiyu does reach the ropes and then meets Arai on the top rope for a superplex. Kamiyu can't quite connect on a famouser, but she puts on the octopus hold instead, and then it's time for Arai to meet Kamiyu up on the top rope for an avalanche full Nelson buster. She hits the finally to the back of Kamiyu's head. She only gets 2. A second finally is blocked, and Kamiyu hits a chop, and then Saki Akai's cutter. That's a deep cut, no pun intended for the cutter. Arai blocked another famouser, kicks Kamiyu in the face. She then lands a second finally, and Arai defends her title in 16 minutes and 41 seconds. Afterwards, they hug in the ring. Kamiyu gives Arai a message in her ear, something that we do not hear. Arai takes the microphone. She tells the crowd that she really enjoyed fighting Kamiyu. She admires how she lives her life. Out of nowhere, Miyu Yamashita appeared. She was not supposed to be at this show. She was supposed to be in the UK, but here she is. She definitely caught Arai by surprise. She was like, "You're here? What? I didn't know you were going to be here." Yamashita comes out, she gets in the ring, and she challenges Arai to a title match. Arai said that she can't forget that match that she had with Miyu Yamashita at the Christmas show last year, where Yamashita beat her in 1 minute and 5 seconds. She said she doesn't feel that she will be a true champion until she is able to conquer Miyu Yamashita, so she gladly accepts the challenge. She vows to show Yamashita and all of the fans at Korakuen Hall that she is a new Yuki Arai. Backstage, Arai continued a little bit. She said that she was very happy to defend against Kamiyu. She hopes that Kamiyu felt that it was a worthwhile challenge. She said that she's always wanted to defend her belt against Yamashita after winning it to really fully put that Christmas loss behind her. Yamashita said she felt a bit disappointed that Arai said she won't be a true champion until she beats her. She thinks Arai lacks some self-confidence, and she should feel as if she's a true champion after winning and defending the belt at all. She warns her that she better not enter their title match in that mindset, or she will beat her in seconds yet again. Kamiyu also gave a couple of comments. She said today she felt the most beautiful that she ever has while she was been in TJPW. She pushed herself very hard physically, thanks to her new costume, leaving very little room to hide anything. She did say that it was inspired by an anime character, by the way, so that's where she got that inspiration from. She said she didn't seem to mind Arai using her moves that much. She kind of considers herself inheriting certain moves from others and using them, so she chalked it up to that. And she also vowed that she will never be challenging for the belt again, and she closed by saying that Yuki Arai is an absolutely amazing woman who makes her proud. A lot here to unpack, so starting with the main event, I liked it. I think the semi-main was maybe a little bit better of a match, but this one also certainly worth your time. While, yes, there were a lot of big boots, I thought they did a good job telling that story that the two of them had a very similar moveset. I also liked a lot of times Kamiyu would try to broaden her range a little bit, like we saw that with the fire on the outside of the ring. When she hit the Saki cutter, she tried to really mix it up a little bit. I thought that helped diversify the match a little bit. I didn't expect Kamiyu to win, but that said, I hope it really isn't the last time she challenges. I kind of have a feeling like it might be, though. Kamiyu is a little bit of an older member of the roster, relatively speaking. She's 33. Who knows how much longer she's going to wrestle for. I think we're at the point where it's unfortunately safe to say Kamiyu will likely never win the Princess of Princess title. I will always hold out hope for it. I think that's a shame, because I think that she could be someone who could have a really nice run with it if she'd be interested in that. But who knows? Only time will tell. I also will share that I really liked her new gear, and I think it could be pretty cool if, like, from here on out, we get this new look Kamiyu. Maybe she kind of reinvents her character a little bit, or not reinvents her character, but like just freshens it up or adds a new coat of paint to it. Overall for the show, I really enjoyed it. I think that it was maybe a step or a half step below Yes Wonderland. Nothing stuck out as bad to me, but I do think there was slightly less, like, very good, if that makes sense. The opening tag just kind of existed. The singles matches were fine, save for the Haru and Mirai one. I thought that one was quite good. The three-way tag was your comedy for the evening. I thought that filled its swim lane quite nicely. And then I really enjoyed all three of the title matches. The Princess Tag title match being my personal one. For the title challenges, I mean, we'll see if Kiraku Kiyome is actually going to be the challengers, but they probably will be. I think that's going to be a fun match. The Sasamata polls, we'll see what our mileage is on that. I don't mind Wakana at all. I don't mind Yamashita at all. I think there's going to be a lot of thoughts about Yamashita challenging for this title. All I will say is take a moment and consider that this actually has nothing to do with Miyu Yamashita. This is not about Yamashita challenging or gunning for that 5th Princess of Princess title. This is all about further cementing Yuki Arai as the top champion, having her beat the ace and the leader of the company. I remember that Christmas show. I remember we talked about it on the pod. I thought it was very, very weird that Arai was like essentially squashed in that match. And I remember I was like, they have to do something with this. Like, this is way too random for Arai to lose in a minute, like a little over a minute. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then come a month later at New Year Party, when Arai wins the number 1 contendership, I think it was a Battle Royal, and then she goes on to Grand Princess, of course, she won that match by submitting Yamashita. And I was like, okay, this is the story. She gets beaten down. She makes this great comeback and submits the leader, Yamashita. Then she goes on to Grand Princess 2-6, wins the belt off of Miyu Watanabe. And now here we are. We get even more legs out of that like very peculiar December loss. By no means am I going to try to say that like TJPW had this planned out all along for months, but like they certainly planned the quick loss and then the revenge submission arc for Arai to become that number 1 contender. Perhaps they knew she was winning the belt at Grand Princess at that time, and they felt they could always revisit it if it made sense for Yamashita to challenge. So I'll rest my case there. To me, this is all about propping up Yuki Arai, giving her a huge victory over one of the pillars. If Yamashita ends up winning, I'll eat my words, but I really don't see if that's what they're going for here. I think this is the Yuki Arai train. I think she defends, and I think Yamashita puts her over and elevates her even more by losing to Arai. We talked about standalone for quite a while there, probably a little bit longer than I thought I might, but there was a lot to say with the challengers, some really good matches, a lot of backstage segments, the Ironman title shenanigans that hopefully we will see again soon. But as we look forward, we do have a show coming up this weekend on Saturday, June 13th, TJPW Spring Tour 2026, next door in Yokohama. This will be at the Yokohama Radiant Hall in Kanagawa. It will be live on Wrestle Universe on Friday night for us here in the States. Although it is a little bit of a later start time, it will be 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. We don't have any scheduled absences, which is really great. We will have 1 singles match, a 3-way contest, 2 tags, and 2 6-woman tags. So running through these quickly, the singles match will see Yuki Kamifuku take on Shion Kanzaki. I imagine Yuki's going to get her victory back here and kind of slowly, not a victory back against Shion, but coming off of the loss at Standalone. They did recently have a singles contest to these two right before it was like Vegas, Vancouver week. Of course, Kamiyu won. So I imagine they will more or less run that back. The 3-way match will see Mizuki versus Pam Harajuku versus Arisu Endo. Quite an interesting collection of competitors there. One of the tag matches will see Uda Takami team with Toga. They will take on the team of Himawari and Mifu Ishida. So that duo will continue to tag together after all is said and done. The other tag contest will actually be our first International Princess preview tag matchup. Our International Princess champion Suzume will team up with her best friend, the one she recently defeated here at Standalone, Mihiro Kiryu. They're going to take on the number 1 contender, Wakana Uehara and Chika Nanase. And then the 2 6-woman tags, one of them will be a Princess Tag Team title preview tag. Daydream will team up with Ren Kanatsu. They will take on Kiraku Kiyome and Raku. I do think that we will see this, cancellation coalition, challenge cancellation, whatever the heck it was, challenge cancellation community or whatever. I do think that we will see that make its presence well known here in this matchup. So we'll have to see what that looks like. And then what I imagine will be the main event is our first Princess of Princess preview tag. Yuki Arai will team up with Prism Greed, Yuki Aino, and Haru Kazushiro. They will take on Kick Slash, Miyu Yamashita and Sakura Hattori, and Kira Summer. So we have a while to go before Summer Sun Princess, but we really are wasting no time getting preview tags off the ground. We got 3 of them already, so I imagine that each of our title matches will have at least 3 or 4 preview tags in the lead up to Summer Sun Princess. I think this will be a fun show. I'm looking forward to a lot of these preview tags. I'm looking forward to some of the other matches here as well. Again, Friday night for us in the States, Saturday in Japan. It's live on Wrestle Universe, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Now, we also have a lot of things to talk about on the Excursions front. Not too much news in the graduate side of things, so we'll pass over that today. We'll circle back next week. But for Excursions, we're going to take a look at 3 different shows really around the globe. Starting on Friday, June 5th, Eve 150 went down, History Makers Rule Breakers. Miyu Yamashita challenged for Chris Statlander's Eve International Championship. This was a really good match. They started off with some handshakes, very evenly paced to begin. Yamashita had a lot of strong kicks. Chris countered with this really nice 20-second delayed vertical suplex. Chris was on the offensive for a little bit. She dropped Miyu onto the ring apron. She had a really nice splash and sleeper hold. Yamashita came back. She had a few more kicks. The story of this was basically these two were neck and neck. Neither of them could gain an advantage for any real prolonged amount of time. It was a clash of Chris Statlander's power, Yamashita's striking ability. Statlander landed this really cool looking 450 splash. Yamashita landed a kick to the back of Chris's head. They continued trading offense. They did a spot where both of them were down on the mat. They crawled to their feet together, started slugging each other. It was that kind of a match. Down the stretch, Chris blocked a skull kick, hit a lariat and a package pile driver, but she only got 2. They traded some roll-ups, and then Miyu landed a skull kick to win in 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Will Ospreay was there. He is a producer, I don't think he's an owner, but he's something to do backstage with Eve. He was there. He was literally changing the plates on the title belt right there at the ring before they even handed it to Miyu. Afterwards, Kaylee Ray came out. Kaylee Ray made her return to Eve on this show. Also Rio, not the AEW Rio, but the English Rio. Both of them came out to challenge Yamashita. This is Yamashita's first time winning this Eve International Championship, but she has been Eve champion once before, quite a while. I think she was the Eve champion for over a year or something. So really excited to see Yamashita win this belt. I had a feeling that they might put this title on her, but wasn't super sure. So really nice to see her win the belt. The match was quite good. I do think I liked her singles contest with Jamie Hayter slightly better, but still very, very good match. This one is watchable on YouTube. Eve does charge a membership fee. It's $8 to $10, but you can check this one out on Eve's YouTube channel. Also on YouTube, the very next day, June 6th, MLW aired their weekly Fusion show. This was Fusion number 196. Shoko Nakajima defended her featherweight title against Shotzi Blackheart. I will definitely miss Shoko's fun MLW entrance where she smashes the tiny buildings like a big kaiju. This match was filmed, I want to say back in February or something, so it is quite old. Obviously, Shoko has not been carrying around the MLW title anymore, so spoiler alert there. The match was fine. I thought that they, at first, kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, but they found it. They found how to be in sync a little bit more as it went on. Shoko was on the early attack. Shotzi hit a 619. Shoko hit her senton. I won't go exactly move for move here. This one is free on YouTube to watch. MLW Fusion airs for free on YouTube. How the match ended up coming down to the finish. Shoko connected with a 619 of her own. Shotzi kicked out of a Northern Lights suplex. Shoko missed a diving senton. Shotzi was able to hit a diving senton of her own, win the belt in 11 minutes and 54 seconds. These two share a similar moveset, so that was kind of interesting to see. And like I said, started out a little bit out of sync, but they found it as the match went on. An okay match. For a match that's free on YouTube, it's a recommend for me. It's free wrestling. Why not? But that being said, Shoko does lose. So it's a little bit of a sad ending. If you are a Shoko fan or if you're a Shotzi fan, perhaps you'll enjoy it. MLW seems to be putting a lot of cards behind Shotzi obviously winning this title, but she's been featured quite a bit on some of their programming. And then the last one I want to look at is actually back in Japan on that same day, Saturday the 6th. DDT held a show called Dramatic Dream Takashimaya Volume 4. We had a TJPW match on offer on the pre-show. Chika Nanase teamed with Haru Kazushiro to take on Ren Kanatsu and Shion Kanzaki. Chika and Shion squared off, followed by Ren and Haru. Shion and Ren did a lot of double team offense early on, and they ended up doing stereo Shion Ganbare corner spots. I thought that was fun. Haru went to work on Shion's arm for a little bit. Chika and Haru do some double teaming of their own. Chika even mocked the Shion Ganbare spot, saying Shion-chan Ganbare during a power slam. That was kind of funny too. That's the kind of stuff I want to see from Chika. That's the type of attitude and that kind of edge I want to see from Chika. Haru eventually locks the Izuyoi in on Shion. Ren comes in to break it up, but Chika jumps in there to hit her with an elbow butt. Haru then lands a fisherman suplex onto Shion. She gets the win for her team in 11 minutes and 12 seconds. Afterwards, Haru gets on the microphone. She invites the audience out to Standalone, which was taking place the very next day on Sunday. To my surprise, there was actually some additional TJPW members on this show. There was something called the Shinjuku Takashimaya Half-Day Promotional Ambassador Delayed Battle Royal. That's a mouthful. I'm only going to say that once. In this Battle Royal were quite a few competitors from DDT. Yuki Onaya, he's a very, very large gentleman. You can't miss him. Uni, I know a lot of people like Uni. He was like a high school student or something when he started. Yuki Ishida, I'm not too familiar with. Junta Miyawaki, not too familiar with. Kazuki Hirata was in this. He's the Go dance guy. Also the Ironman champion after the very next day. Pokotan was in this, the DDT mascot. And then on the TJPW side, Hyper Misao and Yuki Kamifuku. This was a comedy battle royal, right? It was comedy people from TJPW, comedy people from DDT. Pokotan was there. So this was a lot of fun. It was a lot of silliness. Yuki Onaya, on paper, you would think would win this, but the whole rest of the gang kind of ganged up on him. There was a spot where some gentleman brought melon to the ring or something, and somehow or other they tricked Yukio to eat the melon, and they eliminated him. I'm not doing it any justice. You have to watch it, but it was an interesting match. It was a fun match. Misao was in there for quite a while. Kami was in there for quite a while. Believe it or not, the final two members of this battle royal were Kamiyu and Pokotan. That gives you an idea of just what kind of match this was. Kamiyu booted Pokotan so hard that his head went like flying into the audience. He had to go and get it. He put it onto Kamiyu at one point. Kamiyu hit him with the head as if it was a weapon. Kamiyu ultimately hit a famouser, and she won this battle royal in a little over 15 minutes, about 15 minutes and 27 seconds. She became an ambassador for Takashimaya for like the rest of the day or something. So the camera kind of like followed her walking through this mall. This was in some sort of a mall venue. A fun thing. This is on Wrestle Universe, of course. DDT shows are all on Wrestle Universe. The pre-show tag match was your average younger generation tag match. It was a chance for a DDT audience to get familiar with TJPW. It basically functioned as an advertisement for Standalone the next day. And then this battle royal was kooky and fun. If you enjoy DDT, I'm sure you will enjoy this battle royal. We do have a couple of things on the horizon that I'll just briefly mention or re-mention. In July, on Saturday the 18th, Kira Summer begins her excursion to Australia. She will be wrestling for ACW's Heart of War. And then the following weekend, on Sunday, July 26th, we have our eyes on that Kitsune show, Stay With Me, which is over here in LA. Siri Namba's the MC. So as the weeks go on, I am more and more likely going to this show. So more to come on that Kitsune front. With all that said, that is going to bring us to the end of today's episode. Quite a lengthy one. Grab your cold spray and your ice packs. Maybe throw one to Himawari after taking that palm to justice to the back of the head. That was brutal. On next week's episode, we are going to review that Yokohama show. We will also preview the upcoming Nagoya show as we are now fully on the road to Summer Sun Princess. Also early next week, let's keep our eyes on that Texas Tour Talk event that's happening. Let's see what that ends up being all about. Maybe nothing, maybe something, but I'm very curious. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.